All right, folks, coming up in just a couple minutes, we're going to have a match between Eranor and Evoshen, or Evoshen. I like Evoshen. Evoshen, that's fun. Anyway, we're going to be having a match between those two, and let's take a look at where they stand. So we see Eranor is... Come on. Okay, Eranor is here at number 85. And 1524 rating with 82 games played. So not particularly veteran, but not brand new. And then Evoshen, or Evoshen, has 1432 rating with 243 games played. So while Evoshen has more games played, Eranor is higher rated. So that's fun to see. Let's take a look at when their starting time was. So looking here at Eranor, Eranor started back in February of this year. And Evoshen started in 2016. Just been apparently very inactive for a long time. But 2016, back in May, so around the same time I started. Looks like they played a lot of games in 2016, then not too many in 2017, a few in 2018, and then now most of the rest have been played in 2021. So yeah, this will be fun. Two very different players in terms of time played in the game, but pretty decently close, I'd say, in terms of rating. So let's give this a watch when we check out Game 1 between Eranor and Evoshen. And here we go with the first move of the game, F1. Now, will we see adjacent or opposite corners? We are seeing adjacent corners. And looks like going for that center control that is so common for this mirrored opening that we see. So white continuing to play to keep that momentum. Playing off here first, hoping black plays at e3. Now white can play at b4. Black will likely play a capstone somewhere along here, and then white will shift gears onto b3. And that is sort of the standard for this mirrored opening that we see so often. But no, not going for that. In fact, playing up at e5. Interesting play here. I'm not quite sure what they're going for with that. Now black is able to play maybe over at b3 and sort of take the momentum away from white and keep white from shifting gears, instead playing at f3. So they are going to be doing things a little bit differently, I think, than what I would expect. These are, while Evoshen has been playing for a long time, hasn't played as many games as maybe some of the top players have, so their strategies are going to be a little bit different. And so things are going to be interesting, to say the least. A little bit different than what I'm going to be expecting, I'd say. But black is coming down to capture onto d4 to interrupt white's road threat here. White now can decide to play around that capstone over here. However, black will have momentum to be able to play at c3. Though white does have this e4 flat to come down and interrupt what black builds. But white instead going for the more defensive approach by playing down in front of black's flats and trying to go for this vertical line maybe. Black now playing up here at c5. I'm surprised it wasn't a d5 placement. D5 would have worked directly for black to go for this line and keep white from playing here. And it would have been for that vertical threat right off the bat. And so black would have been playing for that, and I think that would have been a much stronger move here. But now white is building for coming up with c4 onto c5, or over with b5 onto c5 to be able to make this horizontal threat. So black's going to want to do something to stop that. Whether it be taking this capstone stack and moving it over here onto c4 or something else, we shall soon find out. I think that might be the move here, is to move the capstone stack over. While it does interrupt the idea for white to go for that threat, it also creates attack threat by placing down here at f2. And I think you always want to look for moves that can be both offensive and defensive at the same time. And if you can do that on most moves, you will probably be doing all right in the game. But focusing on one line or the other often is a detriment to you. Eranor taking his time here. More time than he's taken in the rest of the game so far, at least. As we see things start to move into out of the opening and more into this early game. Black playing a wall, which I find overly defensive, and while moving over is easily stopped by white, I think that was probably the play to go for, is by moving this capstone over. But instead we see the wall come out, and it's a very, very defensive move, and you want to be playing those flats and really pushing where you're going, because now white can just go for this vertical threat. White playing up here at d6 on the next turn is what they really want to do. And so I'd say black plays at d6 instead to keep them from doing that. Then if white wants to come around, they've got to play over here at e6 first, or if they want to smash at some point, probably not the best of ideas, because it does open up options for black to start going for that vertical road as well. And so playing at d6, I'd say, is probably the move here. But black's going to place at a3 instead, focused on that horizontal line, which I find interesting. You got to be okay to shift gears from horizontal to vertical and back and forth a lot when playing tack. So white playing at a4. Now when they do play at a6, it is going to be a tack threat in both directions. Now, if black wants to be more defensive, a wall here on b5 would be able to cut everything off by coming over onto c5, being able to liberate the captive at the same time. I'd say that would be a pretty strong move at this point. Instead, moving the capstone over also functions in the same way, but opens up this area here for flats and walls of white to come in and really interrupt basically all of black's flats here. And the entire game for black is just going for this horizontal road. They don't really have much else going on. So that does open up a lot of options for white to really attack black here. Not white now taking his time, decides to come over with the hard capstone onto c5. Interesting play here. Now, will we see black make a threat by coming down with the capstone? No, gonna play off here to the side. Okay. I might like an e2 to prepare for e4 coming down, then be able to recapture, then come over here with this capstone down onto c3, then be able to make that capture threat left, And the only defense there would be to capture onto A3. If you can set that up, that is. Evoshen taking their time. Playing it A5 for white. Okay. Looks like white is focused on going for that vertical threat. Now we get black coming down, capturing onto B4, making their own horizontal tack threat here. Easily stopped with an A4 right. Instead goes for the B3 left, also stops the threat. I like the idea of maybe a wall at A2 here, or a wall at B3. I think that works really well for black, being able to place a wall here and then capture onto this stack and threaten it, I think works really well for black. So they're going to drop a flat there. I can also see that working out. B3 left, if white doesn't play here at A2, B3 left would be a pretty tough spot to get out of, and the only real way to get out of it would be to play E4 minus. But white does have that E4 minus move at the ready, so that works out. Does go for the A2 placement, so that one doesn't quite work out like as well as the wall would work out. Black now trying to figure out what the best move is here. I like the idea of still capturing over. It forces a capture from A2 up, and then you drop a wall here, and then you've got the opportunity to come in and capture on this spot. I still say that's a pretty good spot for him. If not now, then E4 or E2 first to be able to combat this, and then making that capture. But instead decides to go up here at B5, I guess maybe going for the horizontal and vertical threat on the next turn. But white's going to be able to do that first because they do have momentum here. So black, I'd say, is in a better position right now. But we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so white does make that threat. Black is going to have to respond. Responds, okay, with B5 left. Now that is a tack threat by capturing here or tossing it all the way down onto A3. So white is going to have to interrupt that either with E4 minus or by capturing with this capstone onto A5. I believe those are the only moves available to them right now to stop this threat. And they decide to use that capstone, which is a great play considering that they renewed their tack threat and stopped the opponent's tack threat at the same time. That was not a great play, and now it is Tinue for white. White will win this game unless they don't see it. The move to make here would have been b3 left as opposed to b4 left. b3 left doesn't allow the immediate recapture with the capstone, and b4 left allows for that now. Let's see. White plays at a6. Oh, well, they played there instead. Now black can come over with their capstone, but playing at a6 would have been the better play, and I think would have resulted in Tinue. But now we can see an a6 placed from white here now, and while it's not Tinue, it is very, very strong. White taking their time here. They basically have this game won. They should be placing up at a6, which forces the black capstone to move upwards. This may still be Tinue if they do make that move. I feel like this is still Tinue. If, of course, white plays the right moves here. They could miss it. That is possible. Ooh, I don't think that was the right play here. I think you needed to play up at a6. But now this capstone needs to throw down to a2, I believe. Yeah, the capstone goes to a2. Then white plays at b1. Then, yeah, I think it's still Tinue. Even with that, it just draws it out longer than the a6 would have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. So he plays there instead. Now white just plays at a4. Filling in, renews the threat. Black comes back. White, if white moved the capstone up, that probably would have been quicker. But yeah, this now b1. Oh, that was the wrong move. Now black can wall here. That ruins the Tinue if black walls here at b1. But no, he moves over and gives white the road anyway by placing at a2. Unless white misses that. Unless white misses their win here. But that is a win. And they missed it. They missed their win at a2. Now we get a wall dropped. And what's going on here? Now are we going to see an F4 from white maybe and switch to the horizontal since they missed their Tinue and their roads that they had available to them? But I think where Tinue started, let's look back a few moves. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so here at this move, I think might be when Tinue started. White comes down. Black forced to take this. I think this is where he should have played a6. And I think that would have stopped it. That would have started the Tinue. Oh wait, he can't play a6, never mind, because that would be a road. So he did have to come down first. There. Then black's only choice is to throw the capstone. Then white plays at a6. That's what I was thinking of. a6 here. Okay, now I gotta see what I missed. Alright. So, over, white plays there, black plays a wall, white comes over with the hard capstone. Oh, and black spread out. Instead of, what they needed to do was smash their own wall here with the capstone. That would have been the only way to stop the immediate threat. But it still would have ended up in a road because white would have just played at b1. So yeah, it was Tinue there. Black comes up, white smashes down for the road. So that is game 1 of Evoshen versus Eranor. And Evoshen takes it with a road. A little interesting because they missed a road earlier in the game. Right here, they had the road just by placing at a2 or by moving off a stack onto here. That was the road, but they missed that. And then black played the wall there, and they eventually went for that hard capstone smash. So well done, but they did have Tinue a few times, I believe, in that as well. And so that was working towards that one. All right, and now we are back, and this is ready for game 2 between Eranor and Evoshen. This time with Eranor in white and Evoshen in black. First move right off the bat into f1. And opposite corners. Okay, Evoshen going for opposite corners in this game. And then Eranor going for that knight's opening. And playing very quickly here. With the knight's opening. Black coming out with that capstone. Interesting. I say white should probably play here at c2 and maintain the momentum going now in the horizontal direction. Looks like they go for that. So black played at a4, white playing at a3 here. I'm not sure I like that one so much because I feel like a2 would have made it so their line was a little bit more protected, I guess. But this c3 here, being able to cut things off, makes it so that a3 might actually be the better move. White now dropping that capstone in a pretty solid position here. You will notice that this does follow a lot of the guidelines in the TAC University video about capstones. So let's take a look at that. c5 now coming out from black. Interesting. Probably going to try to play here at a5 next. Now white playing off to the side. Going for that horizontal threat. Black coming down with that capstone. and white making the threat. Let's see how this one turns out. Black could decide to go for some captures down here, decides to use that capstone. White filling in, renewing that threat right away. Black wants to take that momentum away from white so they can start making their own threats. Looks like they went for a C3 minus placement. Okay, let's see. So C3 minus capture interrupts that. And then white fills in with the C3. Black fills in here. White's going to make this placement off here to F3 for the tack threat, keeping that momentum, able to come down with C3 minus for the road. Black captures over. This is where I think we're going to see C2 be placed from white to keep up that road threat. It would also help cut off black's vertical line that they're going for right here. So C2 or C1, sorry, C1 would be the play at this point. So he does go for the C1 placement. We are likely to see this C2 stack move left, which would then give up the momentum for white, and white would have to shift gears, potentially placing up here at E4 to get in front of this and ruin the momentum of black, and at the same time move towards a vertical threat. This is where black wants to place, now that white filled in here at C2, instead of cutting this off at E4. Black probably should have placed here at E4 to continue, save their momentum, keep going, but instead, too worried about this stack here at B2, it places a wall. I can see their understanding, I can see their reasoning behind this, placing the wall to protect this stack here at B2, but I really do think that the way to do that was to play up here instead. White fills in at B1 below. Black brings that capstone down. This is where you'll probably see D1 get played. Again, keeping up those road threats. I do, though, think that instead of filling in at C2 earlier, this should have gone up at E4. Now that this wall is here, this is where E4 should get played. Go for that vertical direction. Got to be able to switch gears in tack. If you're going for a horizontal threat and it gets cut off and you're better off going for a vertical, switch to vertical. E4 or F4, both of those work out just fine in keeping that momentum up and cutting off what black is going for. F4 might be the better choice here, but it's tough to say. But knowing when to switch gears between a horizontal and a vertical threat, change your priorities there and your goals, I think that's an important part of tack. And it takes quite a while, a number of games before you finally figure that out. And when is best to do that? I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out. So obviously it takes quite a few games. Evoshen taking some time here, trying to figure out the best way to respond to the C3 fill. And I think that the C3 fill was probably a bad move here. And I say bad in the best way possible, in that it doesn't further their designs for any road at all. And black wasn't able to get a vertical road here, so this C3 doesn't actually do anything for white. Black is now able to take momentum by placing here at E4 and make a road threat. And decides to do that. Now, white's going to be playing at F4 here, but now we're going to see black play at F5, continue that road threat, and force white to make a capture. Now, this is where white, if they had, instead of gone for C3, gone for F4 first or E4 first, they could have kept going upward and forced black to make the capture. This capture on C3 didn't really do anything for them. It more helped out black, I'd say. But now we're seeing this attack threat cut off here. Black potentially playing at E5 on this next turn to continue the attack threat. That's what would make sense to me right now. Instead playing at F4, don't really understand the reasoning behind that one. Now white could be playing here at E5 to make this attack threat yet again. Taking his time, though. Does decide to play there at E5, make that vertical attack threat. Black able to cut that off in a number of ways. Could decide to move left with F4. Could decide to move left with F5 also. Either of those are ways to cut off the threat and create their own threat at the same time. Additionally, they could have played up here at E6 to cut that off. While it wouldn't have been a threat, it would have cut things off. So now white missed black's threat of capturing up here onto E5. This should be a road for black. Black winning here. White missed that was not able to cut that off. And black takes game 2. So Evoshen wins, sweeping Eranor in this matchup, winning both games. It was a lot of fun to watch and very, I think, informative to some of our newer players on some aspects of the game that we might not cover a lot in the commentary that we get on the top players, because they won't make a lot of the same mistakes that we see in some of these games between the people who aren't ranked in the top 10. And so you'll see some of these mistakes, like, for example, here, dropping the wall instead of capturing up or capturing down onto this spot. White will win a capture war onto this, capturing down with E5, then this, but then black can toss this whole stack over and capture and win that capture war, but they'll give up their road to do that, and then white's capstone can move up or over at any point to go ahead and recapture out of this and ruin all sorts of plans. So I'd say that in this case, white was doing much better off, and we can look back here at this point. When white plays at C3, they should have instead played at F4 or E4, gone for that vertical threat instead. This flat here doesn't do anything. If anything, it gives more power to black when they went up and captured and allowed C5 to come up there and get that sandwich stack there. And then previously, let's see here, C1 was played, which was good. And then when this was captured over, I'd say this is where you need to start moving off in this direction, because no matter what you do, you can't renew this threat, and black has momentum here, and you need to cut that off before it gets too out of hand. So, well done, well played. It was good to see these games, and be sure to check out everything down below in the description. All things TAC, specifically the TAC Discord server, which is where you can find people to play online, specifically on playtac.com, or on the Discord server itself, playing asynchronous games or correspondence games where you play maybe one move a day, or just games without time limits. And you do a lot of fun things on there, a lot of excellent resources on how to get better at TAC, and a lot of excellent resources in just about TAC in general. Homemade sets and puzzles and just a lot of fun stuff. Go check it out. get on PlayTack, play some games, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.